Hey, this is Michael. Just want to share with you from NCY Store how we wired our pretty much back in our Gibby case as well as our tail light. Everything is actually working accordingly. This is pretty much how I tap my wires. I got screwed in with the flathead there. You can see it's nice. All the main wires are from factory, going to its original side blinkers, tail lights, left hand blinker, right hand blinker, and of course tail light again. It's all rewired underneath here. You can see. And I showed you how to pretty much how I they're soldered it on there. And the same thing, I tap the wires here. You can see here, this is going to my tail light. It's kind of funny because the pulse wire is different from the Gibby one. You can see my pulse wire is going to the brown wire, while the positive 12 volt wire from the Gibby one is going to the brown wire. So it's kind of crisscross from the tail light one. But there's only 3 wires from the tail light. You can see right there. You got the blue, the red, and the black one for ground, and then you also have the Gibby one. The Gibby one, I was told that the purple one, you don't actually use it. When you cut it deep enough, it'll expose the purple one, but that's just there. They don't actually have it available for any plug-in. So the purple one's hardly or not even used, they said. So that's from the Gibby themselves. I mean, not Gibby, I'm sorry, Admore Lighting Company. So you have the black one here, and then you also have the yellow ones going to this kind of orange color. So it's very nice and easy to see now, all my wires now. And then it comes to the switch here. And here's the switch right there. See? I'll show you how everything works now. Except for, again, when we have our ignition turned on, you'll see our headlight work. Okay, so you can see here, the Gibby light works. Sorry, it's kind of light out still. But you can see it right there. See that? It lights up. I can even turn it this way. You can see it. So this connection comes from right here. So that it goes to that little switch there. That switch just controls the LED kind of setting if you want it to flicker one time yellow before it goes into red again, stuff like that. But I decided to go ahead and keep it all at its default, which is perfect because it's all in the down position right here. So this is the Gibby wire harness, and then it has attachment right there. It goes straight up, loops around, joins the connection, splits off, and then again I have to pre-drill the holes here. And here I did it neatly, so it looks really discreet. And I decided to drill it on the cover instead of the bottom one. I'd rather have the wires go up here because I don't want the bottom to have any kind of more extra leak holes that I wouldn't want to control. It does have a little rubber gasket here as well. But I want to show you the blinker and everything. So you got the blinker lights here. See there? That works. If you look at our Gibby one, I could just turn the top here. You can see it. See there? That's it. It's flashing yellow and red. You probably can't tell, but it's flashing though. Actually, the camera is capturing it in pulsating time. I just want to share with you another thing too. If you notice that your lights are flickering and then you have full battery, the LEDs are brand new pretty much. The issue would be is the ground. That's what happens when it starts shorting out. You'll notice that the tail light starts getting dimmer. But if you look at this, how bright it is. See that? It's nice and bright. And this is the left turn signal now, and now this is the tail light, also works. So I'm very happy, pleased. So the Gibby's back online now. Again, I had to understand that was great that I created that terminal block because it helped me kind of like sort out each one and see which wire is actually triggering it. Because I'm not an electrician by trade or electronic specialist. I'm not even gonna go ahead and go to the right signal. I'm gonna flip open our Gibby here. See the blinker there. See, it's flashing yellow, really bright yellow, but you can't tell by the camera. But if you go here again, see now the right signal is turned on and everything, as well as here. You'll walk around here. So I'm very pleased. The running light's on. The main light will come on eventually when the engine's cranked over, which we're going to work on today. Now, if I hit my brakes, I want to show you this. I'm going to turn my Gibby here, that way you can see it. So I'm going to hit my brakes. Look how bright that is. Well, you can't tell by the camera. The left signal is still, the right signal is still blinking. But you can see there, everything's working. Not only that, that works as well, but if you look at the tail light, how bright it is when I actually set the blinker here. Let me go here, hit the brakes. See that? The LED just makes it more amplified. Can't tell because the light's on. And then this tail light also works too. I'm gonna hit that brake, see that? I'm not sure you can tell by the camera, but it is. So everything's working great and accordingly. Now it's time to actually do the hard part, which is take down our engine. We're going to swing it down. First thing we do is every time you want to work on engine stuff, please make sure you remove the battery terminal. And I think our battery's about due for charging anyway. So we're going to go ahead and unscrew the battery, take out the seat. I choose to take out the seat, that way I have more access to not just this little peak hole, but the whole engine. So we're gonna go and take off our battery. That's the start. And then we're gonna drain out our oil. So we're gonna do that afterwards. All you need is pretty much a little drainer right there. You're gonna need a funnel to put it back in. We're just changing the car oil, so this will do. Any good clean funnel there, just clean it up really nicely. Put it in, maybe a little smaller one, a little tinier one better. Make sure there's no debris in there, so we might want to take a towel and wipe it in there before we start it. Okay, so we'll have that ready. But yeah, let's go and take off our battery. We have our charger set up here, and we're gonna actually loosen our time chain. So one last look here. See, everything's bright, everything's working. So very happy and pleased. Okay, so let's take this off and let's go and start removing the seat. But first we gotta get to the battery. Battery's gonna take a 10mm socket. Okay, lefty loosey. All right, after that you can just do it by hand. Yeah, you definitely don't want to use battery when your piston is active, or when you're messing with anything with the chain, because your hands are not replaceable and they might not be even repairable. So you only get caught when anything kind of throws it off or turns the engine on. So just be on the safe side. Okay, we got our battery off. We'll leave the lug nuts on here so we can come back and use it. And we're going to charge this with our Nuco charger. Before we put on the charger, let's see what the charging state, because again, we haven't charged this and we've been playing around with our lights and our GY testing. So let me go ahead and put this one back in. All right, excellent. All right, let's see what our charging state is right now. Our voltage meter here. Reset it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the terminal. Okay, so we have a negative. Let's see if I can get that in there and stay in there. Okay, and then we're gonna go put the positive. So the battery right now is currently 9.78 volts, okay? And you're gonna see how fast it'll charge it to 13.5 plus volts. So here we go. I'm gonna put the negative on here. Okay, we're gonna put the positive and let the show begin. Okay, we're gonna go and push the oh, look, see, I didn't push it yet actually. It just jumped right to the blue. So it knows what we want to do. We want to charge this battery. So that's why I'm just telling you how smart it is. It's a genius. All right, so now what we're gonna do is take off our seat. So that one's also takes a 10mm. Let me get back my socket here. I think we can loosen this by hand. I didn't really tighten it too much. Okay, you also want to put a little, like a cabinet area where you can put all your screws and bolts so you know to come back to them easily. Especially ones that are just there. Actually, you know what? While we're doing this, we could have got the oil just popped out already. That's okay, because we need to get the exhaust off too, because we're planning to take the engine down. Or we're going to tilt it down. We're not going to take the whole engine out. We're not having to split the crankcase, because I want to show you a chain breaker. Even though we have to extend the chain perhaps, we can use a chain breaker to take it off. So just 4 bolts here holding the seats really, and 4 washers. We might be able to leave the washers in there. I don't think it'll fall through the gaps or anything, but these ones will. So we'll put them in our little plastic holder here, and we'll just pick up a space here that we can remember they're the only kind that'll fit that one. Okay, clamp it down, because one tilt throws everything off. Extra work for you. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and lift this off. My gas tank is not the one you have to remove off. You can see here it comes off as a separate piece. There we go. See that? It's a separate piece right there. It can stay on, not like other ones, so very convenient for me. All right, so I'm going to go and close the clamshell. See, it's very light. It's almost fiberglass light. All right. Oh, forgot we got to move all these cables out of the way from inside here. There we go. That was it. All right, I want to make sure. I'm going to grab it here. I can even lift it with one hand. I'm not that strong, but doesn't seem too bad. We'll put it out of the way. Put Put it in the front area, away from the wheel turning maybe. Yeah, we'll put it right here. It's fine. Keep the seat nice. Okay, now it's time to go ahead and drain the oil. We got our battery disconnected. You don't have to actually disconnect your battery when you're draining the oil, but I choose to. Now, the other bolts, you notice, they're all the way farther from there. And then we got this bolt as well. A lot of people don't realize that this bolt also drains too. They just drain that bolt, and then they just put their oil in there. But there's another drain bolt here. That's why the Prima Magnet one, and then on the Prima Magnet one, you want to make sure you bolt it on tightly. So far, I haven't had any other leaks when I retorqued it to spec. So retorquing spec, you can check your user manual. It might be 20 to 25 foot-pounds. So you want to check that just to make sure, but there's no more leak. I can rub my hand on it, it's dry. It's been dry for like the last 2 weeks. So I gotta get this corner here all the way so it makes sure when this drops, it's gonna hit it, or else I'm gonna create a mess. So I'm gonna shove this plastic triangle here. There you go. There you go, it locks in right perfect. Right, take my little holder here. Don't want this to get wet, but I do want it to keep it in here because I don't want it elsewhere to get dirty. Okay, we'll just leave it that right there, tilt it, and we're ready to go ahead and break that bolt. And I believe it's either a 24 millimeter. We're gonna find out right now. Or 27 millimeter socket, sorry. Okay. Oh, another thing also, by the way, you do want to check your ground. Now that you can get a good inspection here, what you do is just go and tug it. If it comes loose, that means you didn't get a good crimp, or it wasn't the right size. These are 10 gauge, and what I told you before, that the crimper that I had here, they can tell you the gauge right here. It says 16 14. So I use these ones. Unfortunately, a few of them actually came off, like maybe 4 of them out of the dozen. So I wouldn't recommend, if you're gonna go ahead and crimp a 10 gauge, get something bigger like this one. It goes up to like 5 gauge. Remember, the higher the number, the thicker the wires are. It's not like higher the number, the thicker the wire is, the opposite, okay? So you can see here inside, these are a little bit bigger. And this one will actually work for this thick of wire, like a battery terminal wire. Look how thick that is compared to these wires. See that? And then this is a 12 gauge. So this will work loosely just fine with this one right here. You know, you can crimp it down really well. Probably this one would be better. This one is this is 16. Actually, it would work. So you got 16 gauge, 16 gauge. So 12, it's a little bit still too thick for this one, but you can still squeeze it in. But imagine, I actually squeezed this 10 gauge one, which is the green wire here. I squeezed it into the same bolt as this one, which is not a really good proper connection. So I wanted you to know that. Try to get one that's thicker like this one. Even though you're aiming, because a lot of places are hard to find where the terminals are smaller, but you want still the lower gauge number being thicker wire. And you still want to keep the ring washers a certain size, you know, because most of the time when they make like the 10 gauge wires, they're huge ring wires, and those things are just like they look very thin and very flimsy. So I try to get the biggest one here. Luckily Home Depot had it, so these are the right ones right here. They're great for connecting batteries or wires and stuff. If you try to get the copper one, even better, good conductivity. But these are just aluminum, which is still conducts. So there you go. I just want to let you know about those gauge wires again, okay? So if you're going to use a 10 gauge one, try to go with the bigger setting for at least 5 gauge and below. That will cover you at least on the 10 gauge one and higher. So it's kind of hard for me to say higher because it's supposed to be a lower number, thicker wire. So it's kind of reverse psychology thinking. So another thing is also, this is the tool you'll actually use to splice these kind of wires because they're so hard to pull. So what you do is you put them in here. Watch, I'll show you. You feed them in here. Okay, let's see if I can do it while holding the camera still. Okay, see if it even cuts it. Okay, all right. Just have to let it free flow on its own. There we go. Okay, so it grips it. What it does, it cuts it, and then it also spices it. So let's see if it does it. I don't know what it just did, but it pulled something out. Let me try to do this one here. I think this might be just a puller maybe, I don't know, but I think you might have to spice it. Most of the time, these tools right here, you can spice and cut at the same time. So maybe I didn't just get a good grip on it. So let me try it again. Let me knee it. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's not going to the edge, so let me put my finger in here. Okay, so here we go. Let's see what happens. Yeah, see, it's trying to. Trying to spice something. Again, this might be, but these are spicer tools here that usually could rip these cables open and spice it for you because they're hard to pull. I mean, you see me trying, struggling on this one. This one was those set of wires right here. They're stranded, but they're just thick. The connection is very thick. I think what's going to happen with the ground wire here, I think it will work just fine. I did solder a little bit on it, so again, you want to really warm it up. But the thing about it is though, is you still want to go back and, you know, I mean, tug your work. Don't be so lazy because you'll regret it later, because again, it damaged the wire harness for the Gibby one, which I had to buy another one anyway because they actually changed the connection type. So it cost me what, $175. It wasn't worth it just because it wasn't properly grounded. You can see here how I have my ground. I have my main factory wires going to this slot right here, which is the ground, but also loops back here and joins the rest of them. But I also have a separate wire serial together where the ground here, and it loops right here. If you can't tell, there's a loop. That's why I could put the black wire on top like that on the next slot, because it's actually looping and sharing the ground with the factory wire here. Before, again, all these wires here, the 3 factory one plus the 2 skinny ones here from the Gibby and the Taillight were all running into this one wire, and this wire was burned out somehow because it wasn't getting any voltage ground reading at all. So I was able to fix that with the harness that we peeled open and took out the leads and everything, just fixed it. So there goes the ground wire here. And what the thing about these 30 gauge wire here, 10 gauge one, even if it did come loose, the way it's set right now, it's sort of like a grapevine. It's strong enough that actually can hold itself wherever it's posture at. So it's almost like thick coat hanger wire, you could say. See this right here? It looks like it's coming loose. You can see here, we don't want that, but you want to tug it anyway. You know, don't be afraid, because if you need to replace it, next time replace it with a higher gauge wire and you should be good. This one right here will fit a 10 gauge, no problem. The other ones you can see here, it's smaller. You know, that's the reason why I wouldn't fit it. So these ones are much bigger. It can actually grab the whole cable, including some of the insulation as well. But you don't want to crimp the insulation. You just want to feed it into it. So yeah, if these falls apart, again, what we'll do is we'll make sure. Yeah, this one's I'm tugging it, it's still not going anywhere. Okay, so there goes our ground wire. We're gonna take a valve plate off and everything. Okay, let's get back to draining our oil. Sorry, I'm jumping around everywhere. So we're gonna have to take out this bolt right here. This shouldn't be that tight because it's aluminum, and the other ones shouldn't be that over tight either. I would say hand tighten this one right here, just a little bit more than just your hand tight with the tool, and that's it. Let it go. Don't overdo it. Okay, so let's go and get started. Let's find the right socket and start. I think it's a 17 millimeter, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go ahead and get our 17 millimeter socket right here. We might need extension, so let's keep the extension on there. For this one, we won't need the extension, but the other one we might. But okay, you're gonna see it now. How much quart of oil I put in there. 750 millimeter is actually the ideal quart of oil. So if you're using a quart of oil, you should have at least 200, around 200 milliliter left. Okay, so maybe it wasn't a good idea to put the extension on this one. So let me go and get the extension off. Yeah, so you should have at least 200 milliliter left. So let me, for example, let me go and get the quart of oil. Actually, what it said was it recommended 1540, but in actuality, the quart of oil for this scooter engine type, it recommended on the user manual was different. So I got the 1040 now instead of what it said here prior. It said it required 1540, but this one, 1540 was in there now. Now we're going back to 1040. The Blu-ray brand, which is a really top of the line motor oil. Okay, so here we go. We'll take our engine exhaust off too. We'll keep the wrapper on and everything. And I also bought a brace bracket for here. I realized even though this is light with the vibration and everything, you don't want to put too much pressure on 2 small 12 millimeter bolts that are holding the exhaust. So we're gonna go ahead and have a little brace strap. It came with its own brace strap, but it wasn't able to reach to this bolt. And I think I know why, because it's from the factory. It's probably wired for a lot of universal bikes. So what we did was I found a sort of a metal wrap, and I think it'll be perfect. And I can just use the rubber that's insulated on it. I'll show you next time when we get to that point. But for right now, this is going to take us off and drain our oil so we can drop our engine and break our timing chain if needed. And we're going to check out the timing before we even do anything to see where it's at right now. Okay, so here we go. I want to make sure the nose of this is actually, I'm loosening it right now. It's a very nice aluminum chrome plated Prima bolt. I don't want to, you know, what you can call it. There we go. See, I can twist it by hand too now. Yeah, you can see some oil starts pouring out here. You want to catch the screen and the oil. Maybe leave it right down the top or something. You don't have to put it on the side. There it goes. See, it's coming out. See, the oil's still very, very clean. Oh, sorry, you didn't see it. See that? This oil is still like brand new. If it wasn't, it will be like a more of a darker coffee color. So we'll just keep that in there for a second here. But we'll clean it later. Okay, so there it goes. All the oil's coming out. And let's go and drain the other side as well, okay? So we'll get back our 7mm. I think we'll need the extension for this one. Let me get a shop rag here. All right, let's put it on there. Let's get that other drain bolt out. Again, I didn't put any rubber Viton seal or anything like I was planning to. I don't think I'll need it unless I see it start leaking and stuff like that. So this again takes the same. You're gonna need yourself a 17mm to take off that oil. Let's see if I can show you where the 17mm. There it goes, big huge 17 right there. You can't really see it from an angle. But yeah, it's 17mm. You need to take it off with, yeah, it's a lot of reflection, sorry. Okay, so there it goes. We're getting that. Yeah, you do need extensions. It's so much easier with extension. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. No arm. Oh. Okay, it's loose already now. All you do is pop it loose and it'll, all of a sudden you can twist it by hand, I think. There it go. Then it goes tight again. Okay, so what we'll do is get our socket there. There we go. Now it's loose again. You might just need to twist it to give it a little more leverage. Just use the extension. And I'm doing it with my left hand, see? And why am I tightening it? Lefty loosey, I'm using my left hand. It threw me off. All right, here we go. Draining out all the motor oil. That way prevents us when we open the top head. It's not going to make a mess all over the place. All right, there it goes. It should come out soon. Okay, there you go. Look like the bolt's going to hold it. There we go. Bam. All right, we'll put the bolts right here. Let it sit right there on top. And the same thing we're here. We got to go grab our other bolts. I didn't want this to get messy, so I'm going to leave it hanging right there somewhere. Okay, let me go and try to get over there and grab my Prima. It's swimming in there. Leave it hanging here. We'll wash it again. There, net. See, it's clean oil. We don't have to worry about it. But we still want to clean it really good when we put it back in anyways. Oh, it's fishing again. Okay, so we'll let the oil drain, do its thing. That one's almost all gone. You can see here, it's nothing but like maybe, yeah, it's a good probably inch of oil going to this diameter. But it's no more than a quart though. You can see it's almost out. That was it. Last bit of oil being drained out. Okay, so while that's draining out, we're almost there. We're gonna let it just do its thing, let it drain. And then we're gonna go ahead and just lower the engine a little bit. Also, when you lower the engine, just want to make sure you're aware that anything that lower will cause it. It's gonna lower this whole thing right here, so this thing is gonna lift up like this. So the seat will probably, it won't hit. I don't think it'll hit the gas tank though. But if it does, we'll put something on top here to cushion it, like a, you know, like a piece of cardboard or something. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and take off the bolts here for our shocks that is actually holding the engine down more on this side of it, stretching the engine. So that way this thing, the whole thing can lift. The reason why is we can't really work on it like this because we can't take the cover plate off because this bar here is in the way. So we're gonna go ahead and have to take this one off. Yeah. And this one probably takes a special socket again. This one's probably 8 or 10 millimeter socket. And I'm actually going to show you actually how to actually gunmetal your shock bolts if they come in silver. So we're probably going to change this one out, even though this one looks really nice. But I just want to show you anyway. I'm going to use that rust dissolver again. And we're going to take a little, something to hold it in, you know what I mean? So we're just going to use this hole in the Rika plate here. This won't even let us in there. But okay, let me go ahead and do this. That way you can see it. Okay, so we're going to need some chrome bolts. We're going to turn these into gunmetal. So I'll do 2 right now because it only needs 2 for the rear shocks. So we're going to replace this gunmetal one already. It's in there. You can see it. And then this gunmetal one. I call it gunmetal. It's just probably just dark black. But yeah, so we're going to take off the exhaust next so we can get to that last shock bolt. So let me go ahead and open this one. These are your shock. They're hard to find, by the way, shock bolts. Most people don't carry them. Surprisingly, we have them. Here we go. Let me go ahead and... They're a certain length too. I think they're about 45 millimeter long, and they're about maybe M8. But anyway, most important thing is, all you do is just pop it into a container. I let it soak overnight. Again, get some of this, you know, rust olem. I'm not sure you need something rusty first to get on there, but we'll find out. So what you do is just, you can see me here, I'm just squirting it. It's like a gel base. You can see it starts getting acidic right away. You can see all that. There you go. I don't want to do too much, so you don't need a lot. You just need to make sure it's placed. Now you see it there, it's soaked. This is the chrome one again. There was a total of 6 in the bag. I put 2 in here. It's chrome. And just let it sit. We're gonna leave it alone for about maybe 24 hours or whenever we come back to it. Okay, that way no one gets into it. And you want to tilt it in a way like this or something like that, where it's gel anyway, so if you are, just make sure it stays soaked wherever you're positioning it at. If you're going to position it that way or this way, I guess keep the gel in there, and we'll see what happens in about 24 hours. So we're going from chrome to supposedly maybe gunmetal, huh? Even though this wasn't part of gunmetal, I just found out that actually turns everything black. So we'll leave this here and we'll let it sit. Actually, we'll put somewhere where it's more discreet, kind of hide it from all the others. Here we go. Tuck it in here with my old engine stuff, and then we'll come back to it and check it out a day later. Okay, so you remember it, it's right there soaking in that gel stuff, and I'll put the original one in there too, that way you'll remember it came from this pack. All right, so let's go back, and now we're going to take out our exhaust, and the exhaust is 12 millimeter. So let's go and find that stud here. 12 millimeter. It's 12 millimeter right here. We'll need extension probably, so we'll need that socket back. Socket's still in there. There we go. Okay. All right, so here we go. You'll need extension because it's kind of deep in there a little bit, but there we go. That's our 2 exhaust bolts here. What I'm gonna do is try to take it off. That way get our exhaust out of the way. And lefty loosey. There we go. Yeah, these are Tata's exhaust studs. You can see they're Allen bolts. They're not just the regular ones. So it takes Allen bolts to screw the bolts, the studs in first, and then you can just use your regular exhaust bolts. Very cool. So that way you don't have like. And then the other side's the same one. You probably can't see it. I can't see it either, but I can feel it. So there we go. You can see our exhaust is almost dropping. So all I'll do is I'll cushion it with my leg here, so it does free drop. It's not gonna damage the exhaust. We can catch it a little bit. Maybe I should put my leg midway or something. See where it teeter tots. It's so light. Okay, we don't need the extension. Well, we do need extension. We just don't need the ratchet anymore. We could do it by hand now. It's a little tight because the exhaust is moving and it's forcing the plate to be at a weird angle that look like it's gripping it, but it's not really. There we go. Just keep the exhaust held in with your leg, or if you have like one of those nice scooter stand, you can probably do it even level or something, but this works. Okay, so we got one down, one more to go. And on the other side, if you notice there, when I lift the exhaust with my leg, I can see that the bolt wants to come loosely out. But when I don't, I can feel how tight it is, because it's just gripping on its own stud there by force. Then we also have a steel exhaust NCY gasket in there. So I want to make sure that doesn't drop in the oil. So we'll try to catch that as well. You can see there? It's coming out. It's coming out. There we go. Don't want to scrape it. It's nice stainless steel. There we go. We'll put this to the side here. All right, so that's there, nice and put. Then we can go a little higher there. All right, so that's out of the way. And now we'll get our exhaust gasket, because we don't want to waste that and it drops in oil. So put my finger in here. A lot of people cover this up and they don't realize that when they're doing the big bore kit, and they install their exhaust right over and they're wondering why they're not getting exhaust. Because they forgot to uncover the hole because they want to protect it from any debris going in there. So it's kind of funny. All right, so this might be actually pretty stuck in there. I think we have to wiggle it especially to come out. If it doesn't want to come out, we might be able to get away with just leaving it in there, but I want to make sure it just doesn't drop loose on its own when everything's all said and done. So let's try to get it out. It flexes a little bit, but not a lot. Okay, there we go. Nice, see that? That's an NCY steel exhaust gasket right there. Beautiful. Comes like a two-piece right there. When you clamp down on it, it puts some more pressure. But yeah, it's there. That's very beautiful. Okay, so that one's done. Our oil is almost complete. Well, it is gone. It's just dripping a little bit, drizzling. So let's go ahead and prepare now. We got this bolt here. We can start seeing things. So let's put this in a nice area. And I believe this is going to take a, so you can see this bolt here. It's different than that one. I actually just kind of picked the bolt out and used it. So that's why I wanted to see if we can get some nice shock rear end bolts. So this one's a little longer than I wanted to, but we'll find out. Oh, I got a little scrape here. Got a little engine bruise now. Okay, so now we're going to take this off. And I believe we could probably take it off. Let's see. This doesn't look like a matrix socket. Let's find out which socket it takes. Might be a 12mm, same, who knows. So let me take my 12mm and see. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than 12. So let's go with